Fucking Black Lives Matter. Color bitches. We do. Americans. We're not every fucking black person can get their own fucking job and get off the fucking welfare. It's fucking America. We're not welfare. It's one about the old fucking shit. And all slavery is top of this. Yes, there's fucking get a job, get off the fucking welfare. And fucking stop voting and stop connecting you motherfuckers. Fucking every life matters, you fucking nigger.
The sharing of biased and false
news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Well, allow me to retort.
So what they have done, the stance that they take now is that anybody who's not pro-Trump is not an American, is an enemy of the people. Now, how do they do that? They do that really by weaponizing and utilizing the two primary groups that you hear so much about, Antifa and Black Lives Matter. So I don't even have to, give you an example, right, and an assumption on this. In the video last night, I just happened to start recording because the thought hit, and then I was like, well, you know what? Let me record this so I can have a little bit of video to show why I feel that this is kind of the reality that we're living in. And so at this Trump rally, up walks a black guy, somewhat, kind of big black guy, and he's with a couple white girls. And I didn't record in time to capture this, but if, I'll try to find it and post it. But if not, just take my word for it. This is the truth, hand to God. At one point, you hear one of the white girls, so what happens is some Trump supporters start, kind of surrounding these people, and they're shouting at them and being angry towards them. And, you're thinking, oh man, is, some violence going to break out here? But you hear one of the girls say to one of the angry Trump supporters, we aren't part of any group. We're not affiliated with any group. We're here just to observe. And the one girl, you could tell she has like a really nice camera, so this could just be a high school or a college girl who wants to be a journalist or a photographer or whatever the case may be. But it really doesn't matter, does it? The fact is, what they were stating is that we're just here to observe. And you watch the video, there's no antagonization going on. They're not holding any kind of signs or anything, right? They're simply there. And what you could obviously, I guess, gather if you're a Trump supporter is you're saying, wait a minute, we've got a couple white girls here. They're like, they're wearing like black sweaters. We got a black guy here. He was dressed in black, but hey, dude, it's black. It's not, what are we going to do? Like not be able to wear black? Anyways, you have, obviously these Trump supporters are directing a lot of violent anger towards them, and it looks like it might get heated. And you have, again, them on video stating, we're not part of any organization. We're not affiliated with some organization. We're not here antagonizing anybody. We're literally just here. We want to, we're observing. And maybe, hey, if they are there to say, we want to represent the other side of this argument, right? That should be their right to do. Instead, what you see is this anger and this vile that's being directed to them. And then what I do have on video is at one point you have a woman, I believe on like a megaphone, and you hear her saying like, oh, if black people would just get jobs and get off of welfare. And then you have in the background, you hear a guy start to chant, get a job, get a job. And there's a lot of talking going on, but what you clearly hear, and I'm going to roll the video, is the woman on the megaphone or whatever. You hear her say something along the lines of blah blah blah. Black lives matter. All lives matter. You N-word.
About the fucking welfare, fucking America. We're not welfare against whining about the old fucking shit. And all sudden we're on top of this. Yeah, there's fucking get a dog, get off the fucking welfare. And fucking stop voting and stop convincing me about our fucking lives matter. Fucking every life matters, you fucking nigger.
And so, again, this black guy who is there at this Trump rally on a public street, right, which he, as an American, is supposed to have the right to do. This is supposed to be his American right. The same rights and freedoms and liberties that Trump supporters, are claim to be so angry about when any of those are threatened to take away from them, right? So wearing a mask or staying inside as we're going through a pandemic, they will rally against, because that is taking away their rights and freedoms as Americans. But don't we as Americans all have a freedom and a right to be on a public street, to walk freely anywhere we want, as long as it's, a public property? Well, Trump supporters are going to say, yes, you do. And Trump supporters are going to say, and we won't, try to stop you from doing that, or be angry or direct any anger towards you for doing that, just because you're black or you're Hispanic or whatever the case may be. But here's what they do. You see, you're a black person. You're not pro-Trump. You're not wearing a MAGA hat. So you are Black Lives Matter. You, again, are Antifa. Now it's a different story, because we can say it has nothing to do with racism, but Black Lives Matter and Antifa are terrorist organizations that seek to destroy this country. Black Lives Matter, obviously, they want to burn and loot and destroy buildings and all this kind of stuff. And same with Antifa. So that is an enemy of us. That is an enemy of this country. You are the enemy of the people, because you are this terrorist organization that wants to harm Americans and destroy America and take down America and burn and loot and commit violence and all this kind of stuff. But see, that's the thing. We don't get a choice in that, do we, people? Because nobody wants to allow for individualism. It's weaponized grouping. So again, don't say that we're racist, because we're not going to potentially attack that guy and beat him up because he's black. We're going to beat him up and attack him because he's Black Lives Matter, and therefore he's part of a terrorist organization that is hell-bent on destroying our country, and so therefore he's not an American. We don't have to treat him as an American. We can now put him in a category of he is a communist, socialist, anti-American. Again, he is the evil empire. And so Jedis, you are absolutely in your right to attack and direct anger and all that towards that person. And again, same with the white girls. They're clearly Antifa, right? So we don't have to worry about, we are literally being fucking hypocrites because we're saying we're so patriotic and we're all pro-American, and obviously American given right to all Americans is the freedom to walk wherever the fuck they want to walk and be wherever they want to be, in as long as it's on public property, without having to worry that they're going to get surrounded and attacked and yelled at and intimidated by some group of people, right? See, that is our American right. But what they are doing is they're saying, no, well, here's what we are going to choose for ourselves. Is that if you are a white person and you're wearing a black sweatshirt and you don't have a fucking red MAGA hat on, you're Antifa. It doesn't matter if you're saying that you're not. It doesn't matter if we take the time to even talk to you and ask you and find out, who are you as an individual? What do you stand for? What do you believe in? No, we're going to decide for you that you are Antifa. And now we have every right to treat you as a non-American enemy of the American people, an enemy of America. Again, good versus evil. We're on the good side. You're the evil ones. So now you don't get the same rights and freedoms and liberties that American people get because you've chosen to be Antifa or Black Lives Matter. But here's the thing. How do you know that? How do you know? So again, let's go back to my example that if I showed up in a black t-shirt, dark pants, black sneakers, holding a pro-Biden sign, am I an American who disagrees with your view on this election and maybe disagrees with you on certain policies and things like that when it comes to, this country, which has always been the case? So am I an American, or am I now a pro-Antifa, pro-Black Lives Matter, pro-communist, pro-socialist enemy of the people? I'm not an American. I get that label stripped from me. I get viewed as you must be a pro-Antifa, want to see harm come to, Trump supporters. You want to see harm come to the police, all this BS, simply because I'm not in a MAGA hat. But remember, you ask a Trump supporter and everybody's they're inclusive to everybody. Everybody can be a Trump supporter. But what they're really saying, what that means for them is that everybody can be a pro-American. You put on your MAGA hat and you have now the protection that you are considered an American, that you love America, right? And you're showing it by wearing that hat. But if you don't put that hat on, if you don't show that you are pro-Trump, Trump-loving person, then you're going to fall into the category that we choose for you. We're not going to even ask you. We're not going to allow you to be an individual and allow you to have the freedom of being an individual and thinking for yourself and having your own thoughts and views and all that kind of stuff. No, we are going to decide for you who you are. Because if you're not one of us, we will put you into the category of either you're Black Lives Matter or you're Antifa, or you're pro Black Lives Matter or pro Antifa. And now, therefore, you don't get to be an American. Your rights as an American are completely stripped away because, remember, we're in a battle for the soul of this country. We're in a war, and, we're the Jedis, and you guys are the evil empire. And even if you don't wear the fucking stormtrooper uniform, you're pro evil empire. And so now we don't have to treat you in any way that you should be, protected when it comes to being an American. And so now, if we attack a black man, we are not racist. We didn't do that because we're racist and bigots towards that black person. We did it because they're part of Black Lives Matter, and we're in this war that we decided we get, or that we get to decide who is part of that army, so to say. So this goes back to the elimination of and I say it all the time. and I know it seems like such a simple thing, but if we have got to understand how weaponized the elimination of and the elimination of individualism is being used, and how much of a threat it is to our society and to our country, right? So I show up to a pro-Trump rally, and let's say I dressed in all black, right? And I am holding up my sign saying, Trump is a traitor. Trump is the enemy of the people because he is trying to destroy democracy and steal this election that Joe Biden won fair and square. I do all of that. And I make the statement that that's how I feel. You ready? And I do not support Antifa. I do not support violence, looting, violence against Trump supporters. And I do not want to see the police defunded. Why can't that all be true? But see, that they don't want that. There are people that, again, are benefiting greatly off of making sure that we don't get to be individuals, that we don't get to be, we don't get to, have or utilize the word and, right? Because what it really comes down to is that the other side gets to tell you or gets to decide what you are, what you stand for, and what group or category that you belong in. Because that makes it easy for them to continue to fucking utilize this bullshit narrative that is fucking basic storytelling 101, people. It is preying on, I'm sorry, simple-minded fucking people who don't want to have to look at things and deal with things from a very complex way, which so often they are. They want it given to them fucking simple. They want the goddamn plot of Star Wars. Oh, there's good and there's evil. And if I wear this hat and I'm on this side, I'm good and I'm fighting an evil force. That's easy to understand. But wait a minute. What fucking probably scrambles their brain a little bit is they might be like, well, I got this neighbor who isn't pro-Trump, but he was saying that he doesn't support Antifa and that he doesn't support communism and socialism, and he doesn't want to see the police, defunded. And it angers him when he sees anybody committing looting and violence and things like that, and burning buildings. I'm confused, man. I don't get it. Well, it's simple. Because you're being fed a bullshit narrative by narrative pushing whores that push this narrative for their own personal benefit. Whether it's financial benefit or it's power or whatever it is that they are after. So what they're doing is trying to make sure that there is no and. That you're either a Trump supporter, which means you are a patriotic, God-loving, American-loving patriot, or you're the enemy. Or you are Antifa-loving, Black Lives Matter-loving, you want to defund the police, you want to see destruction to our cities, you want to see looting, burning, violence, you support all of that, and therefore, you need to view those people as enemies, as un-American. You don't have to worry about giving them any of the American, rights that we claim to love so much and want to protect and are fighting for. You don't have to give that to the other side. Why? Because we've gone and we've actually literally asked each one of those people as individuals how they see things, what their thoughts are, what their feelings are, how they view things. No. Because we have decided that they belong and they are part of a group. And we've grouped them. And so now it's the evil left. It's the evil Democrats. The left and the Democrats are un-American. They support Antifa and Black Lives Matter, and they support communism. So therefore, they are the enemy of the people. And of course, the enemy of America does not get American rights. Nazis we don't need to worry about being kind to Nazis. We don't need to worry about making sure that Nazis get the protection of the American people because they are our enemies. So again, it's it's simple-minded narrative pushing. And this is why we need to be concerned about these bubbles that we are choosing to exist in. Because if all you're doing is being fed this narrative that there is some fucking battle for the soul of this country that doesn't exist, but you're being fed every day this narrative that we're in a battle for the soul of this country and that there is good and that there's evil and that you are on the side of good, well, you're going to believe just about anything that they're telling you day after day, that you're bringing in day after day. And you're going to start to realize, you're not going to realize that really what you're doing is you are deciding who somebody is without even involving them in the process. That you have bought into what you believe is your right to demonize and commit potential violence against somebody, not because you know who they are, not because you know how they feel, what they stand for, what policies, where they fall on certain issues and different things like that. No. It's because they're not in a red MAGA hat and they're not flying a Trump flag. So it's real simple. Either you're flying a Trump flag, you're wearing a MAGA hat, and you're pro-American and you love America, and therefore you're a Jedi and you are on the good side of this battle, or you are Antifa, Black Lives Matter, you're pro-communist, you're pro destruction and looting and burning and defunding the police. And that's it. That's how simple it all is. And think about it. Why would you make something that simple? You make something that simple because when it becomes that simple, it's a lot easier to get you to view that other side with hate and anger. Because sometimes it is that simple, right? The Nazis were bad fucking people, right? They obviously wanted all of them. They wanted, at their core, they were part of a belief system that America should fall. America is our enemies. We need to take over and conquer, America and all that kind of stuff, right? So that was true, that we can say, if you're in a Nazi uniform, you're my enemy. And I do need to try to take you down because you're going to try to take me down. But what they've done, what we have now, is that narrative is being utilized right here in the United States of America, but not towards Nazis, towards anybody who doesn't fucking wear a MAGA hat or fly a goddamn Trump flag. You have now tried or are in the process of getting a lot of people to buy into this narrative that there's a battle happening right now. We're in this war for the soul of this country, and that you either are pro-Trump, and that means that you are pro-American, you're pro all of the things that make this country so great, right? Or If you're not in that MAGA hat and you're not flying a Trump flag, you are a communist. You are a Antifa supporting, loving, terrorist loving, anti-American, want to see America burn and want to see communist China come in and take over our country. It's fucking ridiculous, people. We've got to wake up.